I'm a barbarian, I'm Conan. You sleeping on me, you were dozing. Now move, I'm going in. Welcome to Watching Worst Films. My name is Jericho Reed, and with me is Kyle Szymanski. How you doing, Kyle?
Hello. I'm all right. How are you
Yeah,
doing?
yeah, I'm good. I am in an upbeat mood because we are bringing you a very special episode. So we have tackled the most nominated, most successful, most unsuccessful actor in Razzie history, Sylvester Stallone.
Mm-hmm.
So we thought it was only fair that we do the same for actress, but we decided to take
Mm-hmm.
a kind of novel approach to it because if we did it like we did with Stallone, it would essentially just be me saying, "So, Shanghai Surprise. You seen that, Kyle? No. Okay then. Well,
But we could have been talking about Shanghai Surprise. That could have been the special. I'm blaming you for the next hour and a
second
half.
half, second half. We can talk about all those things in the second half. But something which seemed like a glaring absence from Razzie history. We know that Mr. Razzie has his favourites. We know he has people that he latches onto and just scrutinises that much harder than anyone else. We are, of course, speaking about the most successful actress in Razzie history, Madonna, who some people might not be aware wrote and directed the film. I certainly was very
Mm-hmm.
ignorant. I thought it was her debut feature. I erroneously said that last week. Turns out she directed something
Mm-hmm.
else before this. But her most
Mm-hmm.
infamous film is 2011's W.E. So that is what we will be discussing this week. So, Kyle, did you
Yes.
have any knowledge, any history with W.E.?
Not. I've never even heard of it.
Yeah.
I knew Madonna had wrote and directed a feature at some point. I didn't know what it was, so you could have named it. It could have been called anything. Love by Madonna.
Yeah, yeah.
I would never have had a clue. This, I mean, I stand by this as a fucking terrible title.
Yeah, like it's
I would
not
never
search optimized.
It's
It's the super hands
it's
naming
all
your
it's
band
fucking
various
awful.
artists to fuck over people with iPods thing. We,
It's
you
just
mean the Arcade
terrible.
Fire album?
But yeah, absolutely nothing. So I went in blind, knew zero, other than it, infamy, I guess, and you explaining a bit more about Madonna. You've done the research way more on Madonna than I have. But yeah, no, that was it. What about you?
Yeah, well, just because I felt like we should tackle her like we did Stallone, and I just was dreading, as I've said before, I was dreading the event in which we decide to do Madonna, and we're each left with like 12 Madonna films to watch. So
Mm-hmm.
throughout the podcast, whenever a Madonna film was nominated, I would kind of prioritize that in my viewing just to try and ration them out to pace myself.
Mm-hmm.
I knew about this film. I didn't know much about this film. I kind of knew roughly that she wrote a film about Wallace Simpson and whichever royal it was. Most of my knowledge came from Mark Kermode, a film critic who I really like, who hated this film, was notoriously hard on this film, and so I'd listened to his review. But it kind of blended into like the Naomi Watts Diana movie and like some other crap that was out round about this time
Mm-hmm.
period. So I didn't really know anything. I'd kind of forgotten most of it, including the main conceit of the film, that it was like two kind of interlocking stories. I thought we were going to be seeing a strict period piece, but
Mm-hmm.
that is not what WE is. So, on a budget of 11
Ooh,
I'll give you dollars. $17.6 million. How much do you think this
17.
made at the box office?
Oh fuck. Impossible to tell. 10. I'm gonna go with 10.
Very optimistic, my friend. Divide that by 5 and you have got your answer. This made $2
Jesus
million.
Christ. Yeah, I was very optimistic there. I fuck knows. 17 is lower than I expected as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought she was getting like 30 to 40. It's Madonna.
Yeah, you'd certainly think Madonna would be able to secure. It's a weird one where it's like, on the one hand, you'd think Madonna would come with some degree of trust, some degree of like some sort of like baseline guarantee just because she is the star. But she doesn't have any like massive names in it. No one's super expensive.
Yeah, well, that's it. You've named it there. She's not the star. She's not the name.
Yeah.
She's not the face on it. Like, the director isn't as flashy as your
Yeah,
lead. So...
it's one of those things like actor directors often get much bigger budgets if they're talked into starring in it because they're bigger than any of the cast and they can get themselves for cheap. So thank God Madonna didn't decide to play Wallace. Ooh. Madonna does Cloud Atlas where she plays both women.
Yeah, anyway, that's not a surprise though. I didn't hear of it. Like, no one was seeing it. No Madonna fanatics would be rushing out to see it either. Very, very niche audience. Yeah. Very niche target.
But I don't know. It's like, it's just before, like, The Crown and Spencer and Royal Mania. Like, I don't know. If you marketed this a different way, I think people, morons, aren't uninterested in the royal family. So, I don't know. In another world...
okay.
In a post-Harry and Meghan world, this could be.
You can get 2 seasons out of it on BBC 3, BBC 2 or whatever. That's. I'll meet you in the middle. Yeah, but like no one, especially when it's marketed with such a terrible title, no one's gonna see it. No one's gonna know what the fuck it's about. No one's gonna have any interest. I haven't seen the poster, but I guarantee you, it wouldn't be intriguing in any
There's
way.
like 12 different posters. The one on IMDb is a black and white shot of Royal carrying Wallace on his back, giving her a piggyback, and it's in black and white. And yeah, you're right, it's crap. Like, you don't know anything about what's about, and it just, no.
Yeah, I don't know. What's this? I'm not going to go see it. It could be anything from a biopic. It can be a role. It could be anything. I am not going to see this.
Okay, so into the film. So the 2 interlocking stories are 1998. We get a woman played by Abby Cornish, who is Wally Winthrop, who is our one lead, and then our period lead in 1930s is Wallace Simpson, played by Andrea Riseborough. And so these are the 2 kind of interlocking love stories which carry us through. So... to start off with, the very first thing we see is the Weinstein Company logo. So I was like, oh dear.
It's one of my few notes. I think I have like 7 notes. I have things to talk about in this film, like aspects, characters, cast, blah, blah, blah. But scenes, oh my god, fuck no. But one thing that I do have down is, because I forgot what it stood for. Like a brief second.
WC? W.E?
I was like, what? Warner? No, it's not Warner. Yeah. I was like, it's fucking Weinstein. It's 2011. It's a good start.
It's funny because the Weinstein Company had, like, obviously people just looked at the successes of the Weinstein Company, where they had like that reputation for guaranteeing Oscar buzz, but they did put out a few stinkers. Like, they did drop the ball horrendously. But it's just funny to think that, like, Weinstein normally, like, he was a very powerful man in the industry, obviously, so his name often brought cachet with it, and yet even Harvey couldn't stop this, like, dropping like a stone. My next line, some people called it the greatest love story of the 20th century, because we open over shots of like an empty apartment with a crackly hello, you're listening to an old-timey radio broadcast. And it's a woman's voice, and I was like, it's just setting up the Wallace Simpson kind of thing. And my thought was like, okay, at least this is better. It's telling, not showing, but at least it's better than starting with like a wall of text or like a Star Wars opening scroll. Like what you've said as well, though, it is unnecessary. Because we're gonna learn it all later.
The fucking film. We've got an hour devoted to it. But that's I picked up on the old timey radio effect, and I got a snicker because like I can imagine Madonna because there isn't much credits at the start.
No.
I'm not treated like I don't. There's cast roll or anything, so I didn't know what to expect. Who's popping up here? I think it's just Madonna and maybe the other. Yeah, is the co-writer, because I tried looking him up to see what he was up to. But yeah, it was a strange. I was intrigued, but yeah, very strange.
My next note, some praise for the film. This looks like a film because
it does.
I'd watched Madonna's debut feature, and that looks like an episode of EastEnders. And obviously, the only other Madonna film that we've officially covered on the podcast, Swept Away, looks like, I don't know, like a beer commercial. But this,
It looks so much better. It does.
yeah,
It's and again, I think the biggest way is it's just lit really
yeah,
well compared to Swept Away, which is fucking absolutely, light blowing.
yeah,
But it does look good. It's got use of good sets or real location, and
yeah.
costumes are good as well. Like right away, even for like '98, I know that's not like a huge time jump, but it looks time appropriate. Yeah, she's fucking Madonna has to show it to Guy Ritchie and say, hey, that's how you fucking do it.
So yeah, the cinematographer for this, Hagen Bogdanski, who was the cinematographer for The Lives of Others, the German film, and The Beaver is the only other one of his features that I've seen. The one where Mel Gibson has a beaver puppet. However good the cinematography might be, the editing is not good, because my next note is the weird editing. So we're jumping around like all over the place, just like when you're telling this kind of story, like so much of it depends on the editing, and it's not really like there's no real smooth flow to this or anything, is there?
No, absolutely not. Like it's fucking. I mean, like I'm gonna be honest. Like I got the hang of it.
Yeah.
Like I'm not an idiot. I got what was going on. I clicked all this, but fucking hell, like this is not. What's the word? It's just not accessible, and that's the problem. It's like if you were just going to the cinema to see a nice a new Madonna directed picture, like what the fuck? What is going on? And because the jumps are so jarring and weird, and the editing's the pace between the time periods is different. There's no sort of like continuity at times. Yeah, like I have my biggest thing is the lighting's nice, and I want to talk about later on the music.
Yeah.
Which even right away is that's nice. That's some nice strings. There's some nice themes already. Ooh, this is good. And I looked up. And I had to look him up. I'm not going to try and pronounce his name. Abel Koroninsky. Sorry. I should be able to say that name. I'm fucking ashamed. Who Madonna heard on his work on, what was it? A Single Man.
Oh yeah, the Tom Ford film. Wow,
Yeah,
that was just
so
out right
I was like,
before
ooh.
this as well. So
Yeah, so I was like, that's interesting, and it's a beautifully scored film. Even throughout, even when my attention is gripping on for dear life by like an hour 50, the score is still beautiful. So that's like lighting and score are two of my biggest positives.
yeah.
Right away.
So I have a note, which is I really like the shot of it must be Wallace, I think, or is it the other Wallace? Anyway, one of them turns off the lights and like takes her dress off, and we see her from the back, but it's just like a really moody kind of silhouette shot in an apartment in darkness, and there's just such a great mood to it. I was like, this is like way better visual storytelling in this than there is in Swept Away. So on the basis of these two films alone, Madonna a better director than Guy. But my next observation is that this is going to be a crap blonde, because it's kind of like, I bet Andrew Dominic could have directed the shit out of this, but alas, Andrew Dominic could have directed W.E, but he could not have written like a virgin. It's like, this is kind of doing like a lot of the same things as Blonde, in that it's treating Wallace Simpson as this kind of like archetypical figure, and she's like a huge like inspiration, whatever, to the other Wallace. But unfortunately, it's dog shit. Like the script isn't there, and the editing isn't talented enough to weave between ideas as well as Blonde does. So this just ends up being kind of
It's also like Cardinal Sin is boring. It's like it's it's compared to like the story of Blonde, like even Marilyn Monroe's life, to fucking Wallace is it's night and day. One's an exciting like story that's got highs and lows and such tragedy, and the other is just an intriguing story, like a BBC fucking drama.
yeah.
So like maybe Andrew could have done a great one of this, but like I don't know why Madonna is so focused on this story, this time period. It's very niche. It's like the King's Speech and Crown and all this. It's, you know, I know that's got a good market and an audience, but this doesn't. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
Yeah, no, I kind of asked myself those same questions of like, why this? Like, Madonna's last film is way more perplexing in terms of like, why this Madonna? But this is another weird one where I honestly think it's the Simpsons thing of the British women don't pump gas naked, is for whatever reason. Like, you know, Americans get these weird fixations with the royals. I think
Yeah.
Madonna was like that, and she was like, I'm essentially American royalty, so if I was British, I'd probably be like, I'm basically Wallace. I think it's like,
Well, but that's where I thought she'd be like, I'm basically Marilyn Monroe. You know,
yeah.
I can see that's why I can see her doing
If she
that.
didn't, if she wasn't with Guy Ritchie, she
I
might
can
have
see
done
Madonna.
that, but
I can see Madonna doing Diana.
yeah,
I can see her playing Diana. I can see all that. That makes sense. The tragedy,
yeah.
the parallels, the talent, the beauty. Well, you know, she it writes itself. But fucking Wallace Simpson or whatever the fuck. Yeah, like what the
I
fuck?
think
I would never ever get
I
it.
think Madonna is just much like another musical genius who's going to be bringing us her directorial debut soon. I think Madonna's much like Taylor Swift, where Taylor Swift, when she was with Joe, it was all like, "Oh, I'm English, show me London boy, he takes me down the alley and be my queen, I'll be your Mr. Bean." And now we're going to be getting like, "Oh, he bulls me and he's super," and the da, 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 da. I think like if Madonna, like if Madonna made this when she was dating David Fincher, then for sure we might have got Madonna's Blonde. But because she was with Guy Ritchie at the time, then we get the Englishness coloring that picture.
Hmm.
I've lost my note. I remember scribbling it down somewhere, but like something which I related to Blonde is when Wallace is getting the shit beat out of her, and
Hmm.
that gave me real flashbacks to Swept Away, because obviously Madonna spends the vast majority of that film getting the shit beaten out of her, and she's raped by like
It's
the her love
yeah.
interest.
It's real fucking badly done as well. He comes home, isn't
Yeah,
it? And he's like, "Where's my
yeah.
food?" She's like, "Oh,
She's in the
that's," and he's
bath,
like,
and
"I want it
yeah,
now." Yeah. What are you doing in the? Yeah, and he slaps her on the ground. Yeah, that's really badly done. And you know, like Madonna's a victim of abuse and stuff
yeah,
in
exactly,
relationships.
yeah.
So like, you'd think you'd be getting a really powerful, you know, therapeutic release of something. I don't know. It's weird.
It's poorly
It's
filmed,
very
poorly
EastEnders.
edited. Like they jump cut, like we see the fall like four times
Hmm.
from essentially like the same angle, and yeah, it's just it's not done. It's not done very well.
It's the end of an EastEnders episode.
Yeah.
You know, you get that.
Dun, dun,
Dun,
dun, dun.
dun,
Yeah,
dun,
yeah.
dun. What's gonna happen next week?
So my next note is we get talk about an auction at Sotheby's and Muhammad Al Fayed. So I was like, oh, we're getting
Mm-hmm.
royal Easter eggs, because I only know
Mm-hmm.
about Muhammad Al Fayed with regards to Diana. I wasn't really aware of
And
like,
I only know him about Fulham.
yeah.
Uh, so I was like, oh, you're gonna build a Michael Jackson statue.
I was
in
just about to
60
say
years'
that.
time.
I must have told you about how me and my brother went on a pilgrimage to see the Michael Jackson statue when it was outside Craven
Oh,
Cottage. For
fantastic.
listeners not aware of Fulham FC, Mohammed Al Fayed, figure, billionaire, whatever he is, ties to the royals, and he is the owner of Harrods, isn't he?
Yeah.
And was the owner of Fulham Football Club, and he was a close friend of Michael Jackson. So when Michael Jackson died, he was like, "I'm going to put a statue of Michael Jackson outside Harrods," and he's like, no, I'll just put it outside Fulham." And people are like, "What the fuck? Like, we have club legends who don't have statues. Why the fuck is a paedophile getting a monument built outside our stadium?" And then it lasted all of like
It's what he
yeah,
wanted.
exactly. It lasted all of like 8 months. But me and my brother caught a glimpse of it while it was there. And then it went to the football museum in Manchester, I think. And then I remember seeing the article that when Finding Neverland came out, it was removed from the football museum. So God knows where it is now. I'll take it. It's like one of my favorite pieces of movie like memorabilia, something I would love to own, is like, All the Money in the World, the Ridley Scott film, which had Kevin Spacey infamously as John Paul Getty before he was recast with Christopher Plummer following the sexual assault allegations. In the trailer, you see like a bust of Kevin Spacey as John Paul Getty, and then in the other trailer, he's replaced by a bust of Christopher Plummer. And I was like, oh my god, that Kevin Spacey bust has to exist somewhere. Someone has that. That's in the warehouse from Indiana Jones, tucked away somewhere. Maybe in Ridley Scott's like cupboard. But anyway, back to the film. Mohammed Al Fayed, so he gets a little Easter egg there. My next note is another tangent, just because I was getting bored and I was like, better spice this episode up with something. But I mentioned on the Swept Away episode how something which has been living in my head rent-free is Madonna's fried fish video she made during the pandemic. If not living rent-free, something which has a rent-free summer cottage in my head, alongside Patrick Stewart's If You Fancy the Jonas Brothers, Cover Your Belly. Kyle, you're obviously share my obsession with 2016 and the presidential campaign of Hillary Rodham Clinton. Do you remember when Madonna supported Hillary Clinton? I think it might have been, not Hillary Clinton, Madonna supported Amy Schumer. I think it might have been at Madison Square Gardens. She opened for her and she said, if you vote for Hillary Clinton, I will give you a blowjob.
That's why Hillary.
It's such a weird video as the crowd responds is kind of a little bit, but there's a bunch of people going like, "Woo, yeah!" And she lists her qualifications and she's like, "I'm real good. I don't bite. I use a lot of spit, and yes, I do swallow." No, it's Amy Schumer, ladies and gentlemen. But it's just a supremely weird piece of Madonna media, which
that's depressing. That is fucking. Are you ready to laugh? Those poor people.
Like, there has never been a funnier campaign than Hillary Clinton in 2016 has there. From like Pokemon Go to the polls, chilling in Cedar Rapids, hot sauce in my purse. Like,
my boy Jeff
yeah.
might rival anyone in forever because he's great.
The purity of vision there.
Times.
Like, he's like a Nathan Fielder of like, he's got a very short like catalog and all of them gold, but for just sheer volume of material, I think it has to be Hillary. So yeah, my next note, Oscar Isaac. I had no idea Llewyn Davis was in this film, but he is.
First of many surprises. Oh, what year is that, Llewyn Davis?
2013.
Oh, okay, so this is pretty.
Yeah.
I was like, I was thinking when
he'd worked with the Coens, but he's like, now I can finally do what I really dreamed of.
Yeah, fantastic scene.
Yeah. My next note, I have something about the tongue twister or spoonerism, but nothing really to say about it. My next note is Hellboy. David Harbour is in this.
He is indeed. Yeah, yeah, there's a bigger element. But like, I think the only reason I was still invested 17 minutes into this movie is because I was like, oh yeah, Oscar Isaac. Oh, there's Harbour or whatever the fuck he's called us. I was like, I didn't expect these fun cast to start like popping up. So this was nice. Harbour's quite good in this as well, for what it's worth.
What the fuck does he do again?
He's a cucked husband.
He's a cucked husband.
He's a husband. He's the husband of Winnie when she gets with King. That's who she's married to.
Interesting.
He's not a cuck, but that's who she's married to before she gets with the King.
Okay, yeah.
I think.
We should establish who Oscar Isaac is, because he's way more important as well.
He is way more important.
He's like a Russian security guard. So Oscar Isaac is in the 1998 storyline. So he's with Abby Cornish, and he plays like a Russian security guard who she falls in love with. So he's
and he's there at the auction. It's like what you call it? I can't remember. It's the auction. So I can't remember who plays the husband. Some actor plays the husband. The problem with this is really hard as well. Is everyone's called fucking Wally and Wallace. And, Wallace or whatever. So fucking it's really confusing. And but yeah, Oscar Isaac is a security guard at the auction, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And because the husband is such a horrible piece
Bastard,
of shit,
yeah.
he's a proper guy. He's a proper guy, Richie. He's not having. He's a hard man. Yes.
Yeah. So my next note is again about the editing. So it uses like this weird, like the formats are weird in this film, where it has like a weird grainy film texture for like a couple shots, and it just like jumps all around. Like it honestly looks like, not in terms of lighting, it looks like they lit the film consistently and then they maybe had like 7 different camera operators. None of them ever spoke to each other, all with completely different like aesthetics and eyes and styles. And they were like, okay, each of you shoot the film and then we're going to jam all of them together in post. Because we have that thing where it has that grainy like faux film footage and it just cuts to like normal, clean digital.
It reminded me of one of my least favorite films. It's called Paradox. Yeah. It's a Neil Young film directed by Daryl Hannah, his wife. Yeah. It could be her directorial debut, and it uses like digital and analog cameras shot in different style, and it does exactly like that. It does exactly what it does in this movie. Grainy footage and then crystal HD digital fucking camera phone. And that reminded me of, it just felt like there was too many cooks or Madonna's just trying everything, you know, it's like experimenting in the studio. Just shoot, darling, just fucking
I can't
baby.
make my mind up on it, because this is honestly like one of the worst directed things I have ever seen in terms of like direction is kind of like tone management. And there's just no cohesive, like, even if something's crap, it's at least consistently crap. Whereas this, it just changes like wildly everything, the cinematography, the pace. It just feels like you're watching 24 movies that collided. Like there's just no consistency from moment to moment or scene to scene. And it gets a bit better towards the end, but like at the beginning, it's just completely all fucking over the place. It's either, you're right, it's either Madonna having like too many ideas or like no ideas, because even like she's working with like a crew of pros, and normally like you can kind of just like, people will manage themselves. Like if you have no ideas, they'll probably just shoot it in a cohesive kind of whatever pedestrian way. But there's just like so much going on, whereas like imagining Madonna working with the editor and being like, yeah, Madonna, these 2 takes won't cut together, and it's like, was she in the edit suite every day, just whispering in the ear?
Of course, yeah. I think that's what it is. I think it's her doing too much. It's like, because she produced the film, not executive produced it. She actually fucking produced it, wrote it, directed it. Damn right she's editing this as well.
Yeah.
And like, the production could just be that she didn't schedule it very well, or she doesn't know. Like, you know, you could schedule shoots that are across different times and then forget what camera you used or what style you were using, aesthetic, whatever you were, you know, because you're not a filmmaker, you know, you're fucking one of the biggest pop stars of all time, you know, you've dabbled in this before, but making a serious historical epic over 2 time periods might be a little bit hard to...
You're a political campaign manager, and maybe you're not a film.
Yeah. And she also can't, like, maybe she doesn't know how to express how to make the time periods look really different, like visually, rather than just costumes and sets, like how is she going to light it, color it? How is she going to show this is the past? She doesn't. She doesn't know how to do that. That's it's not her fault.
The funny thing is, like, listening to the script, I was like, because I didn't see the opening credits, so I didn't know that she had a co-writer. I know it was written and directed by Madonna, and so I was prepared to be pulling a Kyle with like, she didn't write this, like someone else wrote this, because like, not that it's good, but it's just not identifiably Madonna. And so when I saw that it was co-written with the guy who made her like In Bed with Madonna documentary, I was like, okay, so he's the nerd, and she's just coming in like being like, so what have you come up with? What have you come up with today, Alec?
Because he's wrote the film, like he wrote the screenplay, let's say, but she's the one that's obsessed.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's like Evita. She probably was obsessed when she was playing that.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to put this in. This is how this, you know, she's dictating to him. Yeah. And he's scrambling to make this into a coherent fucking piece. He's not a screenwriter, you know. He's her fucking, like a PA, really.
Smithers.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's what you're gonna get. And you know, it's Madonna of 2011, so she isn't gonna have people telling her no incorrect. If she wants it lit this way, then edited this way and shot this way, Madonna's getting what Madonna wants.
So I have a line here which I believe would be written by Madonna. The most important thing is your face. The other end you just sit on. I can't remember who says this when, but
that's Edward's Mrs. Harper's wife. That timeline, storyline. It's when she dresses like a whore, and you know, you're not being who you. That's another Madonna line. Is when he sees her in like lingerie, and she's like, "Oh, what do you think?" And he's like, "Oh, you look like a whore." And she's like, "How would you know what a whore is? You're not being who you are, or something. You're not being your true self." And I was like, "That's a Madonna line. They don't speak like that in 1933." Yeah, like Madonna's dictating. She's expressing herself, but the actual structure.
Are you just trying to see how many Madonna titles you can fit into here? You need to express yourself like a virgin. Yeah.
See, how you express yourself, you're one-on-one.
My next note, holy shit, it's Loza. And he's married to Marjorie Tyrell, which must be the peak of Lawrence Fox's acting career. Little did he know, he had reached the summit of his career as an actor. Meanwhile, Marjorie Tyrell was just starting her climb. One on the way up, one on the way down. But, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I fucking... First, like, what's her name? Natalie Dormer at this point just flew by as well. She's really young, and it took a while to click. I was like, oh shit, like, there she is. But because I was too fucking... it's Loza. And it's weird that I know Lawrence Fox... not from his acting, and, you know, for his being who he is now. But holy shit, it's like it's Hunter Biden himself.
So since we have a not insubstantial international listenership, we are speaking, of course, about Lawrence Fox, aka Loza, who you would have heard us speak about at great length in our My Son Hunter episode. But given that the audio quality was not as flawless as later episodes have been, Kyle in particular was basically inaudible in that episode. Lawrence Fox is a two-bit has-been actor who is now best known for being just like a divorced dad. Like, he's like a failed...
Billy Piper's ex-husband.
The ultimate...
That's what I want on his gravestone.
The ultimate case of she's turned the wains against us, Lawrence Fox. Failed mayoral candidate, failed Nigel Farage, essentially. Failed musician, of course. He's just like a complete muppet who's like spiraled into being a like cancel culture anti-woke guy. Like, did you see the thing about him wearing blackface with his kids? Yeah, he's just a complete joke of a human being. And he's in this.
I want to say, I'm going to be honest as well, it took a little moment to click. It was Loza. Yeah. Because everybody in this film looks the fucking same. all the women are the same age with the same haircut, and it's the fucking... Yep, I fucking couldn't tell any of the men apart. I could have been King George, it could have been King fucking anybody.
Yeah.
So it took me a little while for Loza to click, but once it did...
Because he's not playing, like, he's not exactly who you would cast Loza as, I guess, in that he's playing whoever the fuck Colin Firth was. He's playing the King's Speech. He's playing the Stutter brother. And he plays him as, like, a complete neurotic. Like, Colin Firth plays him as, like, a human being, whereas Loza just plays him as, like, a soy boy.
He plays him like... Yeah, he plays him like Hugh Laurie. It's like Loza Fox doing a Hugh Laurie impression for like, a sketch show or something. It's weird as fuck. Yeah, it's not very good. He's not a good actor though. Like, he's really he's not in this much. He's very brief, but like.
And
and you're being directed by Madonna, so I am having a little bit of sympathy, but yeah.
Did you know as well that his dad, because Loza is a nepo baby, did you know that his dad plays his dad?
I did. I seen it after. I didn't notice at the time. They do look. Everyone looks similar. Yeah. Everyone could be really cool. I know in this fucking film. Could be the entire Fox family. I didn't know he was an Nepo baby, though. I didn't know about James Fox.
Yeah, he's from a massive acting dynasty, and so I just want to know which one was cast first. Was he like, Dad? Have you got a Dad? Do you have a son in this film? I do actually, Lawrence. Yeah, they've cast. they've cast what's his name? They've cast James Darcy as my son. Do you have another son by any chance, Papa? Um, I'll see what I can do. I'll see what I can do. Him just having words in Madonna's ear, like, there was another king in this family. So my next note is we get some Scotland rep as Oscar Isaac wears a kilt along with a bearskin hat, despite being a Russian man in the US.
Yeah.
And
was it explained why?
he's just dressing up in he's just doing some role play stuff for his Wally's like a Britophile, isn't she? She's like a Brit version of a weeb.
Yeah,
and he's like, oh, if I dress up as like a palace guard, then she'll love that. And he is a true Scotsman because he sits with his bare ass on stuff. Because there's a guy and the security guard just kind of looks aghast as Oscar Isaac is playing the piano in this stately home. And yeah, that's kind of
this is the notes. This is the level of fucking notes in this film. Oscar Isaac has a bare arse.
And then Wally has a conversation with the ghost of Wallace, and it's one of those classic conferring with the dead scenes as Wally's talking out loud and Wallace can only hear one side of her conversation, so she's like, oh, maybe I should just give up on the idea of love. And Oscar's like, give up on what? He's like, oh, if I just pursued with my... And he's like, pursued with what? And it's just, it sucks. But for whatever reason, they conclude and they head out to go and do something, and she asks him to put on pants. And I was furious because I was like, how dare you, madam? He is wearing a kilt. Not only is he fully dressed, he's overdressed, if anything. It's a perfectly legitimate attire for a man to go outside. How dare you ask as if he is not? And then the next scene is the auction, because Wally's like, she's going to the Sotheby's auction, isn't it? And she's like, oh, I could never bid at an auction. I have social anxiety. I'm just too nervous about the idea of speaking in a room full of people. And Oscar's like, nah, you can do it. Come on. Mm-hmm. And so we get this auction scene to soundtracked to Pretty Vacant. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. We've spoken in the past, I guess, about Johnny Rotten being a massive sellout, but it's just funny to see this royal auction soundtracked by the Sex Pistols, because these people are kind of the punks of their day, aren't they?
Yeah. It's it's exactly the same.
Spending thousands of pounds to buy women's gloves. That's what anarchy in the UK is all about.
Again, this is so fucking specific, because although the film's about the 30s and the royal abdication and all that, there's such a focus on the 1998 fucking auction of their shit, which I assume is a real thing. I assume this is a real event, and that's why it's all set in 1998 and it's a period piece, is because this feels like an obsession, like something very specifically part of the story that Madonna loves. It has to have the auction. It has to be built around the auction.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if this entire subplot, this entire half of the film, comes just because we need to put the auction in here. And we'll just link it in or something, but fucking hell. It does look nice. It's
it's so weird, because you're right, it is the centerpiece. It's such an important scene for their relationship. It's like the pretty woman going shopping scene, or in 50 Shades of Grey where they have that scene going over the terms of the contract or whatever. It is such a key scene for their relationship. Oscar Isaac just giving her the big thumbs up as she is like, I bid $50,000 for the silk gloves. It's so fucking weird. Okay, so the domestic abuse thing, my notes are right. It is here. It doesn't come until later on. So she, I think, is having a high old time with her pearls and her gloves and all the stuff that she's acquired. And her husband comes home and is like, what the fuck have you done? And we get the Batman shot of he beats her to shit. He hits her. We see it 4 times from 4 angles. and he like rips the pearls away, and Batman-esque, Martha Wayne-esque, at the Martha moment as the pearls fall in slow motion, scattering across the floor. And then I'm very quickly running out of stuff to say because
like, we can beats. It's like abusive husband. They want a kid. They're trying for a kid, but they're having fertility problems. So she wants to go for IVF, despite it being a young age. I remember a line there from the nurse. It's weird.
She's like, "You're only 35. You're much too young for."
And so she's, he's a dick. He doesn't want to have a kid with her, despite him impregnating ex-girlfriends or something. That's why he won't get tested. He's just a dick. He won't do anything with her. She meets Oscar Isaac. Guess where this is going to go? And then the B plot is, fucking the real life abdication. So there's no
so
story.
all of my notes.
Yeah.
All of my notes are about the abdication, because Edward abdicates and he gives a resignation speech about how we're in safe hands with Loza. And I'm just like, I couldn't not think of it as Loza and whoever was like, I don't know, someone else in charge of the Reclaim Party or whatever it is, be like, but we're going to be okay with our new leader, who I'm sure is going to sweep us to a majority or at least win one seat at Parliament. Ladies and gentlemen, Lawrence Fox. And like, it's so fucking funny because we get like a scene, like I think as he's reading this speech, he's kind of recalling all the memories and the good times that he had with his brother. And so there's a scene of them giving piggybacks to each other and just kind of japing around. But because Madonna like isn't a good director, so like I think for that you probably either want the actors in like Oppenheimer hairstyles where it just conveys that this is them like 2 decades ago, or you have young versions of them as kids. But because Madonna can't really sell a change in time period, it looks as if it was yesterday. Like, he's fretting about abdicating, meanwhile his brother is giving him like a piggyback through Buckingham Palace. It's just 2 grown men japing about, and it's so funny.
That's it. Well, that's the thing. If you can't visually tell me the difference between 1933 and 1998, then when you're jumping about in any, like, up to 37, I'm not going to fucking know.
Yeah,
it's so
like,
bad,
that's where you would do the camera trickery. That's where you do the grainy film or the sepia. Have them giving piggybacks in front of a calendar that says like 1910. This is where you do the Colin Robinson of you have Lawrence Fox's head on a 7-year-old child's body. And then my final note is a quote from Sir Lawrence: "My brother is not a Nazi," which again, just like, I feel like I've heard Lawrence Fox say, I'm not a Nazi, I just believe in free speech. My brother just believes in free speech. So that's the end of the movie.
There's nothing else to say. I don't have
Mohammed
nothing
Al-Fayed
else to say.
appears. He appears on screen. Ooh. Yeah. He's the guy at the end with the letters.
Oh, I'm so clocked out in the last half hour. I don't remember that.
Yeah, he gives letters, and like then that's like, oh, maybe this wasn't like the greatest love story ever told, and maybe I should kind of move on. Mohammed Al-Fayed appears just to like deliver her. He has the Alfred. "Before she died, Wallace wrote you this letter." Mr. Schwally. And so that concludes the film. I do, however, have a huge treasure trove of stuff to tell you from IMDb. So it says that Guy Ritchie helped her with the script and the screenplay, advising that she meet with actors Mark Strong and Toby Kebbell, who he had worked with in Rock and Rolla. I don't know if both of them just immediately turned her down, or she was like, "Listen, Guy, I saw Swept Away. I can do this on my own." So Madonna's last film was a feature called Filth and Wisdom, which I watched. And she said, "I directed Filth and Wisdom to teach myself about filmmaking. And now with this self-punishing process of being a producer and a writer and a director, I'm taking the next step." So her quotes on the film: There are more characters, and 3 of them basically changed the course of British history. King Edward VIII abdicated the throne to be with an American woman, Wall Simpson, and that's part of my story. So I've had to do an enormous amount of research and interview people. So I have an enormous
Knew it.
responsibility to that.
Knew
And then
it.
I have a responsibility to the actual auction, which really happened.
Fucking
Then there's the
knew
new
it.
story, the point of view, which is this girl who has this obsession is going to the auctions and stuff. So it's a much more layered, complicated piece in Filth and
Yes.
Wisdom. You called
Yes,
it, my
yes,
friend. You
yes,
called it.
yes. I am so fucking happy. I knew it. Knew it in my
Yeah.
fucking heart. I even liked when she was talking about taking on the fucking burden of producer and writer, because it shows she can't do it all.
Yeah.
She's not talented enough to spread herself over all these different fucking jobs. Yeah. I mean, what's her story? Is that what she meaning? Is she the American Maddie and the Prince? What's she on about? Why is that her responsibility? That sounds insane.
Yeah, I think that's a responsibility to the real people, I guess.
Okay.
On Filth and Wisdom, though, Filth and Wisdom, like I said, looks like an episode of EastEnders and is much more geezery-ish. It's much more obvious as the kind of thing that Guy Ritchie would be involved with. The most interesting thing about that film is that Richard E. Grant is in it, and she apparently tricked him into being in the film because they met at some event, and she said, like, oh, I'm directing a short. Would you mind being in my short? And he was like, of course, sure. And then he shot some scenes playing a blind guy, and then like 4 months later, she's like, oh, I'm doing some reshoots for the short. Would you mind doing like another couple days? And so he went along, did a bit more filming, and then more months later, his agent got in touch and was like, yeah, Richard, the film you did with Madonna is premiering at Berlin. And he's like, what? The short? She's like, no, it's a feature. He's like, a feature? I didn't get any money for that. And he still hasn't seen it.
Fuck.
So,
that's really sneaky, but like that's well done. That's smart. You'll never get to use them again.
Can
but
yeah,
like fucking right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, other pieces of trivia for you. An entire day's worth of filming was spent on a scene in which Abby Cornish emerges from a bathtub. So we know obviously that Madonna learned a lot from working with David Fincher. Many takes may just be one of them. Other piece of trivia: the majority of the film's budget was self-financed by Madonna in addition to a UK tax credit. So she put up $17 million for this.
Tax credit as well, though. That could have been like a chunk of that.
Yeah. It could have been the
fucking
Conservative government, I guess. Osborne being like, sure, Madonna, we'd love to.
Al-Fayed might have put up some of the money as well.
Yeah.
If you could spend that on a Michael Jackson statue, like you can probably throw Madonna a couple mil, you know. But I get to be in it, though. You know, I need to be an actor, baby. Yeah.
So this is really interesting. Madonna thanks Leni Riefenstahl, who directed numerous Nazi propaganda films, most notably Triumph of the Will, in the closing credits. Walsh and Edward were also Nazi sympathizers. The Marburg Files, top secret Nazi documents discovered by American troops in 1945, showed that Edward actively pursued a plot to betray England to the Nazis. In return for his collaboration, the Nazis promised to return Edward to the throne and recognize Walsh as queen. So, the film, as my final note was, Loza saying, my brother's not Nazi. So the film does kind of acknowledge this, and obviously, like I've heard the rumors and stuff, but I wasn't aware about these Marburg files. Like I didn't know it'd ever been verified. Did you know that?
I thought it was just
Hearsay.
no,
kinda.
yeah, no, well, not hearsay. It's one of those, well, obvious, like, quotes. There, you know, there's speeches or whatever that were like, okay, that's very fucking suspicious and bad, but like, I mean, I don't think hearsay in the royal family, you know, it's unheard of.
Hearsay about certain members of the royal family having racist attitudes. What this seems
unbelievable.
I didn't realise this was a science fiction film you're writing. Then, next piece of trivia for you. Amy Adams was considered to play Wallace Simpson, bullet dodged, because like people like Oscar Isaac are on the up and Natalie Dormer, whatever. Amy Adams, by 2011, she'd just been in The Fighter. She was like an Oscar nominee. She's like way, way, way too good for this. No. Andrea Riseborough hadn't really done most of her work, was ahead of her. Mandy was still in the future. But yeah, no, Amy Adams, Amy Adams, I could see doing this now that she's
Oh yeah,
slumming it.
absolutely.
But
Oh yeah,
like
absolutely.
in 2011. Okay, and the final piece of trivia I have for you. In an interview for the Daily Mail published in February 2019, Judy Parfitt stated that she was not overawed by Madonna. She knew I didn't give a monkeys. And at one point when I needed to smoke, I was playing Queen Mary, who was a secret smoker. She had to get down on her knees to pass a cigarette to me. That's just where I like to see you, Madonna, I said. On your knees. Everybody else was kowtowing to her, but I thought, yes, you're an okay singer and an okay dancer, but you are a dreadful actress and director. Which, yeesh.
Yeah. I mean, why take the fucking job?
A job's a job, Kyle.
A job's a job, but like, I'm not taking the job from, Hitler and then going, fucking this guy, like...
I would happily be in We Too and then shit talk Madonna afterwards. But I don't know, just like that's where I see you on your knees. That's too far. And like an okay singer and an okay dancer. Okay, let's not come for her musical career because she's an icon that has spanned decades. So I think it goes a little further than okay singer and dancer. But yeah, anyway.
Fuck, who was that said that? That was
Judy Parfitt, who played Queen Mary. So
okay.
I assume if we look her up, we will see an incredible list of credits. Yeah. Nothing.
Yeah.
Lots of work. BAFTA nominations for Girl with the Pearl Earring, Jewel and the Clown, Little Dorrit, Call the Midwife, but nothing that suggests that she's like
the one to tell Madonna's average.
Yeah, exactly.
Madonna, you're too mediocre for me.
Yeah.
Call the Midwife is lining up for me.
Yeah. Okay, so that concludes our talk. Well, I guess we haven't done it for a while, so I'm a little bit rusty. Do you think this is Razzie worthy?
Oh fuck yeah! This is I fucking hated this, but I don't think this has come across on this episode because I don't have that much to say. But I fucking hated this movie. I really slogged. I resent it. I was like, we could have been watching anything.
Yeah.
We're in the
Dick Tracy.
We're in the dead zone now, man. We could have, I was like, yes, we could do anything.
This is just going to be your every week. Could have been Caligula.
We could have been Caligula. We could have watched The Exorcist too. But yeah, I really hated this. I really, really, really struggled because again, it's so formulaic, it's so bland, and it's so badly written and everyone looks the same, everyone acts the same. It's fucking grim, and it's 2 hours, and Jesus Christ, does every minute of that feel like an hour? Yeah, this deserves it. What was 2011 winner again?
Jack and Jill.
Oh,
so it's interesting that both the last films we covered for specials, Showgirls and W.E, were 2011, which was the Jack and Jill year. So I think performance-wise, everyone's kind of fine because she has quite a good cast. I don't think this would be a heavy hitter. It's certainly not gonna grab headlines more than Jack and Jill. But Madonna dodged a bullet of Mr. Razzie for sure. She definitely could have won director. I guess Mr. 100%. Razzie wanted the narrative of Jack and Jill setting the records and sweeping the boards. But I'm surprised he didn't nominate her. Objectively,
I mean, I hate Jack and Jill, but I hate this more.
Yeah.
Because this is again, at least director, writer. Some of the actors are fine. So, some of the direction's a bit rough, but and some of the dialogue they've got to deliver is pretty rough. But again, they're all pros and they all know what they're doing for the most part. But overall, as a film, again, it's a big slog. It's fucking boring. There's no, we're not even talking about. There's no chemistry between anybody in this. No one's really Oscar Isaac's fine, but I don't see it. I don't get it. Nothing feels believable. There's no spark. There's no something
just completely inert.
Yeah. So and that's the biggest sin you can have for me. So I'd rather watch Jack and Jill twice. I probably could watch it twice in this time period it would take me to watch this. So yeah, it's a Razzie winner. It should have won it. It should have swept it for me. It's one of the worst ones we've watched and.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. And change that you could make to fix the film.
I mean, pick a lane, tell one story. That's basically it.
Yeah,
pick a film out of it. That's the quickest. Show me the abdication story. I'm absolutely happy. That
Yeah.
I don't need the 1998 plot line.
I'm completely the same. Like, I know that Madonna feels this incredible loyalty to the auction, but the auction is not eventful enough that it deserves an entire feature film built around it. She could have called it. That's my fix. You retitle the film The Auction. But yeah, I would just ditch the 1998. Like Wallace, like it's an interesting story. Like I hate the royals, but the idea of someone turning their back on the institution.
And there is layers
love,
because
or maybe because he was a Nazi. Yeah,
but that's it. You can do that. You can explore the themes of fucking Nazism and the abdication itself and the brother, and like you can have a nice little fucking period piece that.
And maybe the king has to give a speech and he struggles with it, but then Captain Barbossa from Pirates of the Caribbean is there to put some marbles in his mouth and tell him to say fuck. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's my fix. So join us in the second half when we will be giving you a rundown of Madonna's other Razzie nominations and wins. Welcome back to the second half of the podcast. Oh boy, yeah, really, really rusty. Working these old muscles again. So, as we said, Madonna is the most successful actress in Razzie history, and so this pales in comparison to like the massive list that we had with Stallone. But we're going to go through her films as, if not Kyle, I have seen them all.
Yes.
So, starting off in 1987, she's flying out the gates with a win for Worst Actress in Shanghai Surprise.
Yeah, so you've seen Shanghai.
I have seen Shanghai Surprise.
Yeah.
So not only does George Harrison write the title song, he writes like a ton of songs. Like there's a number of George Harrison numbers throughout the movie. Sean Penn's in it and he's like insane. Madonna, I don't think it's win-worthy. I don't think this is one of her worst performances. I think she's utterly okay in just a bad movie. So we move on to 1888 and Who's That Girl, when she won back-to-back Razzies with another Worst Actress victory. Similarly, in Who's That Girl, she's worse. She is a lot worse because the movie is like, she's a bigger part in that, and that's the one I said I think where she's kind of doing like a proto Harley Quinn kind of, and she's just very stiff and awkward. Like I saw Wonka, and I think that Timothée Chalamet is good whilst being completely miscast because he's just not a weirdo, like he's not Willy Wonka. And so whenever the movie has him do any wait, strike that, reverse it, he just seems out of his element. And Madonna is that in Who's That Girl. We are then off to 1990 for Bloodhounds of Broadway, where she was nominated for Worst Supporting Actress. This is just going to be me talking at you, but I promise we will get into...
we will, yeah. I will. I've seen 3, I think. 4 now.
Yeah. So, Bloodhounds of Broadway, Worst Supporting Actress nomination. She's a very small part in that film, and again, I don't think she's bad. I think she's just getting that nomination because of who she is. She, of course, is nominated for Worst Actress of the Decade and Worst New Star of the Decade. And then in 1992, she is nominated for Madonna, Truth or Dare, Worst Actress. So that's the documentary by Alex Kashishian, also titled In Bed with Madonna. I watched that in the 1992 year. We've spoken about getting nominations for playing yourself in a documentary.
Yeah, I don't like it.
So, yeah. So I don't think she's like, I think that's just, not really worth it at all. We're then off to 1994 with Body of Evidence, where she won Worst Actress. So this was the first one we covered for the podcast because this was the Indecent Proposal year, and this is her worst performance.
Okay.
Like, she's dreadful. Like, really, like, breaks the film. Like, she's so bad. And we also have some correspondence. So ePars90 from Instagram chipped in with Body of Evidence was abysmal. At least she was good in League of Their Own and Evita. So echoes our opinions, because you always speak about Evita as being good in that.
Yep, I do. We're Evita's 96, 7, so she has a few more before then, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm ready for Vita.
And have you seen League of Their Own?
I have not, no. That's the baseball one, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the baseball
Yeah.
Jane Davis one. She's fun. Like she's cast as like a New York broad, and like
It's fine,
she's
yeah.
like she's decent enough in that. So yeah, I completely agree with
Mm-hmm.
Epoir's like body of evidence is abysmal.
And a Vita.
And
And a Vita.
yeah,
It's great.
I haven't seen
Absolutely great.
I haven't seen Evita.
No,
But
it's
yeah,
not. It's not fucking great,
thumbs
but
up.
yeah, we'll get to it.
And then we're off to 96 for Four Rooms with
Oh,
Worst
yeah.
Supporting Actress win. So
I'm-
I watched this.
Okay, good, because I remember talking about this on the episode, and I remember Tarantino's and I remember Rodriguez. I remember especially Tarantino's really well. I couldn't remember which one she was in, and
Yeah.
did we look it up? It's like one of the other
It's
directors.
the first one.
Ah, okay.
So it's very funny because I've spoken before about the horror anthology, the Kevin Smith Halloween horror anthology that I watched with Isaiah when being snowed in one time, which was about like a bunch of cam girls who are witches. And the Madonna section of Four Rooms is very similar to that, in that
Okay.
she's part of a coven of witches who are doing a ritual in a hot tub or whatever, and they need Tim Roth come to complete their satanic ritual. And so Madonna is the kind of head witch, and she's fine. Again, she's not Madonna. She doesn't get that nomination. I went in expecting her to be awful, and yeah. What do you think of Tim Roth in Four Rooms?
I've got to remember it. It's been a long time.
Okay.
So I remember Tarantino's one's the bet, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the last one, I think, 'cause that's the best one.
Yeah.
What's Robert Rodriguez's one again?
So we start off with witches, then we get Cuck Husband, then we
Okay.
get Robert Rodriguez. Robert Rodriguez is one I also want to talk about because it's Antonio Banderas
Yes.
saying, "Look after my kids."
Yes.
And like it's like the feet. Like feet are like a key part, like child's feet are like a key part of Rodriguez's section of like the kids are just like, oh, let's take off our socks, and then there's like lots of discussion about whose feet smell and just feet framed. And I was like, Rodriguez. I had to check to be like, are these his kids? Is he throwing his kids to Tarantino? Because I was like, Quentin's gonna be there. Like Quentin's gonna be on set.
But they don't know. I think it's a coincidence. Like, what's this, 94? Like, they're not.
No,
maybe he doesn't
come
know.
on.
I don't know. Maybe Tarantino kept his fetishes like relatively
Yeah.
consumed.
I think
By
after
96,
he wins the Oscar for Pulp Fiction, he's like,
Yeah.
great, I can just
Oh, yeah.
be right out in the open. But
'Cause
yeah, I
that's why I
know
think
what you
the
mean
point
in that.
because that's the point for From Dusk Till Dawn, where you're, fuck it, yeah, I'm going to cast you as the creepiest pervert that ever existed because that's what you are. Like, he's discovered somewhere between Four Rooms and From Dusk Till Dawn. He walked in on something, and it's changed him.
So there is actually that connection of they cast Salma Hayek as a stripper because obviously, so for listeners who haven't seen Four Rooms, it's like an anthology about a hotel, and Tim Roth is the bellboy, so he's the
That's what he
connection
is, yeah.
between all of these independent shorts. So in the first one with Madonna, it's a group of women doing a ritual. In fact, I think it's called the ritual. The missing ingredient. So the group of women are doing some ritual. That's his involvement in there. In the next section, the wrong man, husband accuses him of sleeping with his wife, and there's like a hostage situation. The third one, Antonio Banderas is going to a New Year's Eve party with his wife, and he leaves Tim Roth to kind of like serve his kids, and shenanigans ensue. They turn on the TV, and the young boy is watching porn, and the
remember that.
porn is Salma Hayek dance. You don't really see it's her, but apparently it is Salma Hayek, and that led to them casting her in From Dusk Till Dawn. But when they're like, this person's good at dancing, we're not going to give you any lines, but yeah. my friend wants to drink whiskey off your foot. And then, of course, the Tarantino one is the final section. But yeah, I was just losing my mind that like children's feet were a key plot point of a Tarantino related
adjacent, a Tarantino adjacent.
Yeah.
Like he's
I don't know.
he's
He's
not.
not beating those Epstein allegations, I
Uh,
don't think. Okay, and so we are then off to 2000 when she won Worst Actress of the Century. So she didn't win for, like, I guess it's not that long ago that we did this. It's not that long ago that we did this roundup. So she didn't win Worst Actress of the Decade for the 80s, and
yeah, she
then
came storming back. Yeah,
and won Worst Actress of the Century. Yeah. Then in 2001, she won for The Next Best Thing, which we discussed mere weeks ago. That was Freddie Got Fingered year, wasn't it?
hmm
So yeah, I think she's bad. She was also nominated for Worst Screen Couple. I think she's bad in The Next Best Thing. Well earned. Then we're off to 2003, which was the year of Madonna. She was nominated for Worst Original Song with Die Another Day. She won Worst Actress for Swept Away. She won Worst Couple for Swept Away. And she also won Worst Supporting Actress for Die Another Day. So
yeah.
we've got a
I
whole
mean,
episode
100%.
speaking about that.
We've got a whole episode about that. 100%.
Yeah.
I just want to say again, just as we get to the end, like Die Another Day, the song fucking sucks. I hate it so much. Declan, I know you've wrote in before, but you're wrong. It's a dreadful song.
I like it.
We've
I
sk-
like it. I'll go
Oh,
to bat. I will be Declan's surrogate, and I'll be his
oh,
like champion in this trial by combat
well,
here.
on the record then, what is a bad one? I'm sure I've asked it before, but I want to know your bar for what a bad one is.
Sam Smith writing on the wall, or
Okay.
bad.
Yeah, okay,
like,
fair. Yeah,
yeah.
okay, fair. All right. Since we've skipped it though, Vita came out obviously before here.
Yeah.
I watched Vita. My dad watched
I can just
Vita,
finish
and
off
I
if you
watched it
want.
with
So
him.
in 2010, she was nominated
Okay.
for Worst Actress of the Decade. So that's it done.
Oh, okay.
She hasn't acted since 2006 when she was in Arthur and the Invisibles. So yeah, if you
Okay,
wanna
fair.
if you wanna take us away with other business.
I did it's the only other thing. Is yeah, my dad watched Vita. Like, he had it on
Yeah.
video or something. He liked it. He really liked the soundtrack. So I've watched it quite a few times as a kid. Banderas and Madonna again. You know,
Yeah.
4 Rooms is put across, and it's a starting point for a lot of things, from foot fetishes to high dancing to Vita. It's directed by Alan Parker, who I like.
I thought you were going to say Alan Partridge for some reason.
I know, I wish. No, I like Vita. It's really part of it's nostalgia for me, and I did forget it was Madonna, and I think that's the highest compliment I could ever pay her. That it isn't compared to everything else. I don't know why it's the only role I've ever been impressed by, and it could be a bit rose tinted, but compared to Die Another Day, Swept Away, fucking anything else we've seen her in, like yeah. So that is her shine. That's her Redeemer Award. For me, for Vita.
Yeah. Yeah. So since that appearance in Arthur and the Invisibles, she's really just been doing behind the camera work, and she is apparently was going to direct a film based on her life with a screenplay which was written by Diablo Cody at one point, and Julia Garner is going to play her. So Julia Garner is in The Assistant, which I think she was really good. I like her. She works with, I can't remember who the director is that did The Assistant and then the movie about the hotel, the Royal Hotel. Kitty Green is the director who did those, and I've only seen her in those films, I think. Oh, she's in Grandma as well. I think Julia Garner's really good, and I think a Madonna biopic could be great. I just think Madonna is probably the worst person in the world to direct it.
Yes. 100% agree. Yeah, no, 100%.
But hey, like, it seems like it's in development hell, but like, I'd be interested to see it. Like, it's got Razzie written all over it, I think.
Yeah, no. I want to get away from the blondes and the fucking lonely lady stories. Come on, no, I don't want Madonna's tale. I've seen it here. I've seen her.
You want her to
through
write an
W.E.
adventure about two guys going down
yeah.
the border of Mexico and stopping off at a bar, and maybe not everything is what it seems.
Exactly.
Okay, and so we will just conclude it. We didn't speak about Masterpiece, so you will not have heard Masterpiece, as it won the Golden Globe However, it wasn't eligible for the Oscar as it appeared too late in the credits. But Masterpiece was a song which Madonna wrote for W.E., which includes the immortal lyrics, "If you were the Mona Lisa, you'd be hanging in the Louvre. Everyone would come to see you. You'd be impossible to move." So, yeah. So I know 2011 we've spoken about the Razzie potential of this film, but if 2011 was a worst original song year, that would have been another chance to defend
And if she
her
played it,
title.
yeah, if she played it 30 minutes before the credits, I would have seen it. I'd have heard it rather. I'd remembered it.
Okay, so if you have enjoyed this episode, you can follow us at Watching Worst. You can contact us with any correspondence at watchingworstfilms@gmail.com. And we'll be back to you next week with our episode on Razzie Misses. So this is kind of what the Razzies did themselves, where they were like Razzie losers. So me and Kyle are going to present our candidates for people who we think have got off lightly, people who should have Razzies or Razzie nominations, films which we have
over
disliked
the
over the years.
Stallones and the Sandlers.
Yeah.
Yes.
So join us
100%.
next week for that.
Look forward to it. See you then.